Another beautiful day today. Sunshine and clear blue sky. Yesterday was beautiful too. A little breezy yesterday, so it stayed a little cool. It's already warmer today than it was yesterday. But it's clear blue sky, sunshine, and so it's pretty nice out there. It'd be nice to be outside doing something. So it was clear last night. Got a little frosty. Not too bad. Not a hard frost, just a little frosty. I went out before I went to bed. Looked outside and northern lights were bright last night, man. They just lit up the sky. Pretty incredible. Don't get a chance to see those very often here because it's usually too cloudy. Weather's usually too bad. But had a good northern lights last night. I finished up with the bottom side of this wing last night. Then I turned the wing over and I worked on that leading edge a little bit with the iron there, making sure it was smoothed down. So I got that all cleaned up, and then I took the rest of the night off, I guess. And I come out this morning when my son come here and had him help me snap a chalk line along here on the leading edge, and I got the chalk line back an inch from where that bottom fabric comes up over the top fabric. We'll get ready to put finishing tape on that, and then I did the same thing back here on this trailing edge, back here on this false bars. We snapped the chalk line here an inch up from the edge of the metal on the false bars. So on the front, I'll use a 4-inch tape on that. And on the back here, I'll use a 3-inch tape on it and do just what I did on the bottom side. I'll put the tape down here and then use the iron to fold it over the other side, over this edge, and glue it down on the other side. I'll probably turn the wing over to get it glued down on the other side. But we'll work on getting this tape down and then getting that leading edge down. But what I'm doing right now is just going over this with some polyfiber reducer, taking up some of the rough poly brush and stuff here. This edge kind of had a lot of drips and stuff on it, so we'll get that cleaned up. And then I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to work that leading edge. The main part of the leading edge will be a straight 4-inch tape. It'll come back to where this outboard aileron rib is, and then the wing starts going around the curve there and tapering and stuff, so it won't fit around that very well. I could make it fit by heating it and working it like that, but there's a little easier method than that, and that's use bias tape. I have some 4-inch bias tape, and the bias tape is just kind of what it says. It was cut on the bias of the fabric, so the weave of the fabric goes at 45-degree angles instead of 90-degree angles to the run of the tape. So when you go lay the tape out and you pull on it, it'll stretch and curve. It'll stretch around the curve. But one of the problems with it doing that is it also shrinks in width as it does that. But it makes it nicer curve around that wingtip bow than what it could do. I could do it with a regular tape, but it'd take a lot more work to do it with the regular tape, to use the iron and stuff to heat it, to heat shrink it, to get it around there and everything. So right now, what I clean these edges up here, and then I'll mix up some poly brush and go ahead and put my bed of poly brush down. Oh, I did something with my hip, slept on it wrong or something, I don't know. Anyway, so I got this front edge, leading edge, pretty well cleaned up. So we'll run the tape back to here, and then what I did before is I took and cut the tape at a curve around on the end, like I've done on some of these other tapes. And then I take the bias tape and cut it the curve too. So when the two overlap, it looks like a circle or a football or something like that. It makes a nice joint. Some guys take that and cut them straight or cut them with pinking shears and meet them up together. But I kind of like the way that looks when it's been overlaid. And that way you don't have any free ends. Everything's all glued together and there's less chance for it to come unraveled. I can lay out that leading edge tape, I guess, and bring it back to here and then leave it loose. But then I want to overlap the leading edge tape on the front with this where it goes around the corner here. So I guess the first thing to do is to go ahead and mix up some poly brush and get my beds down and then let those set up. And I could put that tape over the trailing edge and get that glued down. And then I'll probably work on this wingtip. Before I put the finishing tape on the wingtip, I've got to do something with these finishing tapes that go over the spars and this outboard rib. I'm going to have to meet those up together like I did the other ones, just fold them over and stuff and try to get them jointed right there where they join midway around this wingtip bow. So first things first, let's get some poly brush mixed up. I've got these tapes trimmed up here where they come over the trailing edge. Now it's a matter of gluing them down with some poly brush and then probably take some iron and smooth them out. All right, I guess I'm done for a little while here now. I've got beds of poly brush put on the leading edge and the false bar there. I cut those tapes out and I sized the ends of the tapes here where I'm going to trim them off. I've got these tapes down here mated up where they go around on this wingtip bow. Just got to wait for that to set up enough to take the iron to them to get them down. So I guess I got to wait now for a little bit before I do anything else for that poly brush to set up. I guess I'll go do something else for a few minutes. I'm making a good start on getting this leading edge done, or these final pieces done. I got the piece on the false bar laid on there on the top, all the way down to the aileron, outboard aileron rib, and then I let it sit there for a while. And I glued this leading edge piece on, the finishing tape on the leading edge. I started it on down on this end, and then I went down and had some lunch and stuff, took a break while that stuff cured up. Now I've come back up after a bite to eat, and I run this finishing tape for the leading edge down, not quite to the outboard aileron rib down there, because it's got to overlap that finishing tape that goes over the wingtip bow. And then I started on the bias tape on the wingtip bow. I got it cut out, measured out and stuff, and then I got it laid out and glued onto the end down there by where the outboard aileron rib is. And I put another bed, a good bed of poly brush around there on the wingtip bow. So I'm going to let all this stuff set up for a little while. Oh, I just did finish up that tape down there on the trailing edge. I'd run it up to the outboard aileron rib. I just went down and finished it. I cut it off to where it goes and put a little radius on the end of it and got it tied down. Anyway, now that needs to sit for that glue to cure up on that, and then I'm going to take the iron and go over it and bend it down and bend it under, and then I can start bending down all of these finishing tapes here to finish up the trim pieces, like down out here on the butt rib, and down there where the flap false bar and the aileron false bar meet, and the outboard aileron rib. Those are places I'm going to need. Well, the outboard aileron rib, I can't finish it up until I get that wingtip bow finishing tape around it. But right now I'm going to let everything set up for a while. Then once I get it set up for a while, I got the bias tape glued on there, and I've got to let it set up so I've got something to pull against. I've got to pull it to form it around that wingtip bow, and if I start pulling on it now, it'll pull loose from its anchor point there. So I want to let that poly brush set up before I start pulling that tape around that wingtip bow and gluing it down. Anyway, that looks really good. That's making good progress. I'm going to go do something else for a little while again. It's nice and sunny and bright outside. I'll go see if I can find something to do for a few minutes while I wait for all this glue to set up, all this poly brush to set up. I give this poly brush some time to set up. Well, now I can bring this bias tape around and start setting it on here and getting it put on. Now the normal weave of the fabric, the weave goes this way and this way, 90 degrees. When they cut it on the bias, they cut it so that it goes this way, 45 degrees, so that when you put it on here and you pull on it a little bit, it stretches out. So it conforms to that curve better. So I'm going to start putting that stuff on there. This poly brush is cured up enough here. Here's the seam on my fabric right here where the bottom fabric comes up and overlaps the top fabric. I probably didn't even need to go that far. It sticks over here an inch, and if I'd have just come up right to the edge of the wood there, it would have been enough, because this top fabric comes down and goes around this wood and then is tucked up behind it. So there's a good glue surface there, but that gives me more than enough. That way the FARs and the polyfiber manual say that at least an inch overlap of fabric on any glue joint. They want 2 inches on the leading edge, of course. We did that. Once you start getting away from the leading edge, then at least 1 inch. So I'm going to start this around this corner, and we got a nice curve right here, so that's where this bias tape comes in. If I was just going to do it with regular tape, it would take a lot of time and effort with a heat gun to do it, to get it done right. So I want, let's see here, need that there, start pulling it. Pulling it a little too much here, but I want it to go around more around the top of this fabric on the top of the wing. I'm going to have to do a little work with the heat gun, of course, to smooth this out. Not mess that up. What are you doing, Saki, huh? What are you doing, Saki, huh? Now, let's see here. I'm going to need to wet that down a little bit more to get it to do what I want it to do. All right, I'm going to have to let that set up just a little bit. I got it on there finally. Rub that in with my hand. Okay. And let that set on there a little bit before I go any farther. Oh, come on, doggone it. Getting it around this last corner is getting to be kind of a bear here. Well, I screwed it up back that way now. All right, that was a chore, that last couple feet back here, but got it. Alrighty, gonna take some work with the iron getting it all smoothed out, but all in all, that's pretty good. All right, now I can bring that other leading edge skin back this way and get it set up on there. So I have the main leading edge skin now, and I've got this skin here, comes to here, and I've got a half circle right there. Oh, I've got this skin marked, and I didn't mark it as far out there as I wanted to, I guess. Right to there like that. Yeah, I'm gonna go right to there like that. Cut this off. Now what I want to do is pinch this over and cut it in a circle. Okay. Did that backwards. I think instead of making a circle, I went the wrong way on that. Oh, crap. And that probably won't cut like that either. So I'll go ahead and size this back farther, and I'll just cut it back farther. Won't hurt anything. I just have to wait for this to cure up now. Take a few minutes now for that to set up. While I'm doing that, I'll get the iron going, and I'll go back here on that trailing edge and form that trailing edge around. Oh, I messed up my first cut, or my last cut, I guess it would be, on that leading edge skin. Oh, I put some more goop on it, make it cut without any fraying or anything on it when I make a cut, so I make a nice neat cut on it. So while I'm waiting for that to set up, I'm going to take the iron here and just form this edge on this trailing edge around the corner. Make it easier to glue up. I'll have to tip the wing over to glue up that side again when I get ready to get underneath there, but this will make it easier if I have it pre-bent to get around there and to get it to stick. But I can go ahead, I already folded over that lower part of that rib, so I can go ahead and heat form this upper portion of the rib here. Let's see if this is set up enough yet to cut it. Oh yeah, that's better than it was. All right, now where's my pinking shears? There they are. All right, let's try to do this again the right way. All right, I got it the right way this time. All right, so I got around to it this time. Alrighty, that's good. Now put these out of the way. They don't get all cruded up. And where'd my brush go? Guess I put my brush away. I gotta go clean it out again. All right, here we go. Let's do this again. Let's see here. Get a little bit of poly brush and loosen that fabric up a little bit so it comes loose a little bit there. All right, I don't want to stretch it. Makes it tough to get it back in there the right way. You pull on it too hard and stretch it. Been there, done that. So this tape has some fuzzies on it that the other tapes didn't. The 2-inch tape. 3-inch tape had some fuzzies on it too, but not the 2-inch tapes were mostly pretty good. Some fraying on the edges there where the cuts are made on it. Pinked edges. You know, that'll get ironed down. You have to really watch that. Make sure it gets ironed down and that they don't pop back up again when you spray the other coats on it, when you spray the poly brush and the poly spray on it. All right, that is done, except for the cleanup work, ironing. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go over this edge now with the poly brush, now that it's had a chance to set up. And then I'll come back after it sets up some more. All right, that's good. I'm happy with that. There's going to be some work on this with the iron when it gets all set up. And this skin here, this tape here has pretty much set up from the inboard rib out this way. So I'm going to go ahead and go back over it, put another coat of poly brush on it now, and do the trailing edge again. All right, I got those down. And second coat of poly brush on them. Now I need to go over this leading edge and the trailing edge and the wingtip with the iron, get it smoothed out. I still have to finish the bottom of the trailing edge and then do the trim out work and stuff on the rest of that, but I need to turn the wing over before I do any of that. So I'm done for the night. I think that stuff's all got to set up now before I do anything else, and I want to make sure before I iron it that it's all set up good. So that's that. Leading edge is done and the wingtip bow is done. Trailing edge still needs some work on it, and I need to finish trimming things out on the inboard rib, and I might put the fuel tank in there so I can put grommets or gussets or something like that in around the fuel tank exits. We've got penetration for the aileron cable and the flap cable and the wires and stuff like that. And I'm going to put doublers on each one of those. But first I'll get all this all cleaned up, ironed down, flip it over and glue the bottom side down. All right, it's coming along. I should be able to finish this tomorrow. I think it's 6 o'clock now, and I want to let that stuff set pretty good before I start going over it with the iron. It takes a while for all that solvent to get out of the thick spots and stuff on there. So I'm probably not going to do anything more tonight. I can go down to the cabin and fix dinner tonight, I guess, and relax for a while. Anyway, I guess that's what I'll do. I think I'm done. Done for the day.